thanks for checking out my channel. I'm glad you're here. And if you're a subscriber and you've come back, I love you. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is my review of Hocus Pocus 2. The long-awaited sequel, at least for many, it's the long-awaited sequel, that is just now on Disney+. Always a good sign. I'm a blind film critic, so I don't really know what the special effects in this look like, or what the film itself aesthetically looks like, but I did used to be able to see, and I've actually seen Hocus Pocus many times, so I know what the Sanderson sisters look like. So that's enough. This film is not that deep. It's a Disney Plus film, so anyway, so I feel like the Hocus Pocus community is gonna come for me, but I didn't really care for this. I'm sorry. It has aspects that are good, but overall, it felt like a film that had several rewrites and kind of threw things around and shoved them together and cut some things out, and originally was aimed for like a Disney Channel movie, and then Disney Plus happened, so they did a rewrite. They were like, oh, we could have a bigger budget. So they went for that. It feels like a film that's just been pieced together from other cohesive scripts, other ideas. Like, so people just kept having new ideas, and they were like, oh, well, we can shape this around, okay, and make it work. Cool. So yeah, I guess while talking about the film, there's a possibility that I could say a spoiler. If you're just diehard, don't want to know anything about this film, I have to talk about the plot. I'm sorry, I do. I have to talk about how this film is structured and the plot of the film. I don't know that this film is actually hard to spoil. So it's just not that deep. But here we go. So we start off with the Sanderson sisters in a scene where at first I was rubbed the wrong way because the actresses were not the original Sanderson sisters. But then once I started to appreciate the little girls for what they were in the story, I actually became kind of engaged in the origin story of the Sanderson sisters somewhat. The film chooses to cut at a really weird place. if we're honest, like it chooses to time jump at a very bizarre spot in the story for them. And then we jump to present day, where we are introduced to Becca and Izzy, who are friends, and they are headed to school together, and they run into some other kids. They're talking about sort of their plans for the night, and they find out that their friend Cassie is throwing a party because she's popular now, so she's gonna have people over at her house. The film doesn't really do a great job of establishing these girls before this moment, but apparently they used to like get together every year and have kind of like a ritual type of thing. I don't know why they're trying to be witches. The film never really explains that. It doesn't really, like, other than the fact that this town is somewhat obsessed with the Sanderson sisters again. Because, this would be like the Amity just continuously trying to summon Jaws back, like, please, we need another shark. Where did it go? It's very, very strange. It doesn't do a good job of establishing these kids' backstories. I don't even know if Becca and Izzy have parents. Like, that's how barely described they are as characters. They're not established very well at all. There's just this sub-story where they meet for rituals around this time of year. But Becca doesn't anymore. Damn, right? That's, man, that is a story. So we, so those are our protagonists that we're supposed to fall in love with. Are people who have virtually no backstory except for there are three of them, but there really are only two of them right now, so they're not the full trio. Anyway, so the two of them that are still friends try to go out and do the ritual themselves. They swing by and they meet some other people who are relevant to the plot of the film, and no one else, because who cares who else lives in this town? This cast is not full of quirky side characters. It's full of need to know basis. There is a town mayor who is the father of Cassie, who is, we're told in the audio description, is the same actor who played somebody in the flashback, and that becomes relevant. And he's kind of goofy. I don't know what this guy was trying to do with his performance. He definitely thought he was in a different movie. He thought this is a guy who normally obviously acts in Disney Channel original movies, because he was in this weird place that just didn't really work for the film. It didn't help elevate Hocus Pocus 2 to make it feel like we were watching something special. I hated this guy so much. He was so stupid. And then we follow it up with this other guy who's like, I guess like a magician, but he's also in charge of keeping the Sanderson sister house. He's the new caretaker or whatever, and he's got the book. And he sells black candles now to people. And he gives the girls this one candle that looks gross, and he's like, I made this specially for you. And they're like, thanks, this candle looks terrible. They take it, they go out into the woods, and they do their ritual. And the film never explains how these girls come to be, how at least one of them has actual powers. It doesn't care. It's just like, hey, it's a Hocus Pocus 2 sequel that everybody's been wanting. They will not care what the plot points are. They do not care. They literally just want to see the three Sanderson sisters return, and we have to get there as quickly as humanly possible. So they just throw storylines out the window. And these two girls summon the Sanderson sisters. And when the Sanderson sisters land, instead of bringing me hope, they bring me song. They land and they start singing a song. Now, mind you, these are people who have been off the face of the planet for a while. Let's be honest. They came back in the early 90s for one night, and now they're here now. And before that, it was all the way back to the witch trial days of Salem. So the fact that they know any pop music at all is it's always kind of a bizarre choice. But the fact that they decide to open up their return with a musical number. Luckily, the film decides to poke some fun at this, and they throw some little jokes in. They're like, who are they singing to? That was one of the few moments that I did like, was when the film went meta, and they were like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, the two girls were like, who are they performing for? You know? Because they're just out in the middle of the woods, and the Sanderson sisters are doing like a full-on like musical number. It's so weird. Anyway, but the reactions from the two girls made it interesting. And then kind of the rest of the plot of the film unfolds from that point. That's I don't want to get too spoilery. Yes, it involves Billy coming back, and he has more lines this time around, I think. I'm going to go with yes. I'm gonna say, like, I feel like I heard Doug Jones's voice a little bit more this time around. than I did last time. So, and if I believe that was because his mouth was sewn shut, but now it's not. So now he can speak and actually has dialogue. It's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of thankless. It's a very thankless return for Doug Jones, just to be totally honest. Like he doesn't. I mean, I'm sure he enjoyed the work, and fans were like, "Oh, it's cool. It's Billy. He's back." There's also a black cat when there's a reference to it being the same kid from before, but it's not. It's just a black cat. So they try to make some references to the first film. Oddly enough, they couldn't get any of the kids back from the first film as adults living in the town, I guess. But c'est la vie, right? The film has some entertaining moments where, just like in the original, the sisters end up interacting with modern technology. So, like, when they interact with one of those home robot devices that you can talk to, that was interesting. They're like, "There's a lady trapped in that box." That was cute. But really, the film should have done more of that, and less of some of the other stuff, because it just kind of languishes with characters who aren't very good or well written, or their backstories. We're given a backstory for the magician guy, and that actually kind of worked. I was like, okay, so his backstory works for me. I'm here for it. I'm not here for the actor playing the role. I don't know why we cast terrible actors in this film. I don't know why we couldn't find people. I don't know why the adults in this film all acted like they were in, I don't know what movie they thought they were in, but the Sanderson sisters are playing and doing legitimately what they're supposed to be doing, and they're fantastic at it. I'm not taking anything away from Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, or Kathy Najimy in this. Great. Loved them. But the film that we've decided to bring them back to is beneath them. This was not the sequel that we should have given them. It should have made several different choices. The second musical number that turns into a flash mob was dumb. Again, it was a weird song choice, and it was just kind of, it just kind of felt stupid. I was like, how do they know what this song is? Like, how do these people? Very, very weird. Yeah. Anyway, so eventually of course, the film has to push towards this like thing of threes, right? A witch and her coven. So, and sharing the power, and there's this like whole thing. So of course they end up mending their friendship with Cassie. They have to, Cassie becomes like a huge plot point. So they have to go find Cassie. But the book has like a real personality in this, and actually really resists doing things, and it's very snippy. Anyway, this could have been so much better. It's not. It chooses aggressively, almost to a point of being intentionally something that could have never been released theatrically, and was designed as some sort of like straight to blank sequel. You know, it doesn't feel like the theatrical original. It doesn't feel like it's elevated or changed or done anything. It didn't improve. We've had 29 years to come up with a great Hocus Pocus 2, and we came up with this, and it just kind of blows my mind. This is not very good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Hocus Pocus fans. I wanted it too. And I'm not saying anything about the Sanderson sisters. I thought they were incredible. They're fine, they're fun, but the stuff they're given to do in this is just beneath them. There's a fun there are fun moments. Okay, this is not an F for me. There are fun moments. I enjoyed the lookalike contest, and it reminded me the old story about how Charlie Chaplin was in his own lookalike contest and didn't win. I thought that was fun. The girls, I actually like Becca and Izzy. I think they were talented girls that they picked up to be leads. I just wish they had a backstory. I don't even know if they have parents. I just wish they had a backstory. There's no backstory for these characters. They just sort of appear, but they appear with this backstory of how they've been meeting in the woods to like cast spells, and it's the weirdest backstory to not exist. To not have anything to have no substance. Why? What? Like, why are you? What's happening? Why you do this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, just several things like that. And there are 2 adult actor performances in this film that are just atrocious. Atrocious performances. I just hated them. I don't know why. I feel bad for Doug Jones, but I'm also celebrating the fact that he got work. So, because he's not on the same level as the 3 actresses, so they didn't need to bring him back. So cool. I'm glad that he's working, but they just didn't really do anything with him in this film. Just a lot of things. I don't know. You'll see it for yourself, and you can make your own decision. I already have seen some people who are like, I love this more than the original. And I'm like, more than the original? Did you have a head injury? Like, I can see you if you like this. Like, I understand the nostalgia factor. I mean, there are things that I like that I can totally recognize it because it's part of a franchise that I love, that it doesn't even matter to me. It's like, okay, you've made another Jurassic Park film. I'm gonna like it automatically to a certain degree. Just like this film, the Sanderson sisters, when they're on screen, love it. Even when they're singing dumbass songs, I still love them. So that's the nostalgia factor. But you can't help but notice that there's a crappy film around them. Like, as much as I love Jurassic Park, when I watched Fallen Kingdom, I was like, this film is shitty. This is a shitty film. I know it's a Jurassic Park film, and I'm super excited that there's a Velociraptor in this, but this is not a good film. This has terrible plot points. I was able to, like, recognize it, even though I was still, like, the little kid in me was entertained by just the presence of a Jurassic Park film. So, I can understand that. I can understand the need, but to say it's better, you don't need to know those people. Anyone out there who thinks Hocus Pocus 2 is better than Hocus Pocus 1, just no. No. We don't need to know those people. So let's talk about the audio description. I know this is a long review, but if you've made it this far, you must be interested. So we're gonna talk about audio description. I didn't like it. Sorry. I love Laura Post. I have no problem with her voice. I think she's an excellent narrator. I think the script here is the problem. The script here fails on multiple counts. It does something which I think is actually quite excellent, where it lets us know that Becca is biracial and Izzy is Latina. And I think that's great. And I'm all for kids seeing themselves represented on screen. However, it never mentions anything else. So I guess we default every other character as white. So Becca's the only biracial looking person in the entire town, and Izzy's the only Latina person in the entire town. So this town has not gotten very diverse in the last 29 years. Yeah, it just stops at that, because a lot of the other characters, it doesn't ever bother to mention when somebody's white. So it's like white is always the default, which is why like most audio descriptions that don't do race, that's kind of what ends up happening when people don't know the race of a character. What are you defaulting in your mind? You end up defaulting it to white, that the role's probably white if nobody's telling you that. If there isn't anything that the character's given you to let you know that the character might be something else, you're trying to pick up in character details, because it's incredibly racist to say, oh, he sounds blank, because you might not always be right, and that's incredibly stereotypical, but that's often what blind audiences are asked to do, because everybody is so afraid of just telling us what a character is. It's not racist. I'm not like looking for, I don't need somebody to like warn me that there are black people in a film. I'm not looking for that, but sometimes it's nice for people to see themselves represented, and other times it's actually relevant to the plot. So please don't feel ashamed of doing it. That was one of the stronger things that I liked, was that they actually did it for this film. I was like, oh good, there are little kids sitting at home who know that this film didn't just repeat the original and have like a slew of white leads. So we diversified. Great. And Becca and Izzy are the best two additions that we have to this film. So fantastic casting on their part. Beyond that, right after they're introduced, they run into people who are not given names. We're not introduced to them as characters. We find out who they are after the fact, but it's kind of weird that they just start having a conversation with people there was no notification that they were approaching people. These people just started talking to them. Dude comes up and he's like, sorry I'm late, I had 2 breakfasts. I'm like, who is this kid? Is he important? Do I need to know his name? Is that what you're trying to... Are you avoiding telling me who he is because that's the only time he's in the film? Is he just the kid that rolls up and lets people know that he has 2 breakfasts? Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so the film is not great at character introductions. The film is also not great at locations. It's sometimes the film shifts location and we don't get a description. There's one time where the mayor has to go home to his daughter. I don't want to tell you for reasons. I'm again trying not to spoil the entire thing. And none of that was audio described. We cut to it and the audio description just gone. It just drops out. It's not there. I have no idea what the house looks like, who's there, how many people are there, what's going on. Nothing. The whole scene was not audio described. It's a very weird choice. Not even lightly audio described, like so-and-so talks to his daughter, like nothing. It's just like they didn't want us to know that the scene existed. But it does. And I need the audio when you can't just have an entire scene with no audio description. And finally, and this one could be kind of spoilery. So I'm going to say it in the way that is not, but it's going to be super vague. So when a character leaves the film, it has no audio description of how they left the film. I can't describe it better than that because that would be a flat out spoiler. There you go. There's nothing. There are other characters that leave the film that have audio description, but there is one character that does not. And it was very weird that we decided we don't need audio description in this moment. Lots of choices were made, and it felt under-described. And I did not like the script. And I'm very aware of who the writer is. I don't feel the need to put her name in my review, to put her on blast, because she's providing a service. But I would like for her to take a second pass at her scripts from now on. That would be great. Just a couple of, these are really basic things. Character introductions, scene changes, character exits. That's ultimately what I'm talking about. I'm not even trying to get you to describe more in depth. I'm not trying to be like, oh, there weren't enough costumes. Oh, you could have done more to give me the atmosphere of the film. Oh, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about that. Character introductions, scene changes, character exits. Those are pretty basic. And this film had a couple of times where it was pretty glaring that no attempt was made. And yeah, so there you go. That's that. The rest of it just happens to be in the actual script for the movie, which is unfortunate. It makes me really scared for Sister Act 3. Let me just say, I am suddenly far less excited for Sister Act 3. So, I think it's time to grade this. This is a long ass review. So, all right. So overall, the film is beneath them, but I enjoyed seeing the Sanderson sisters return. Like I said, it did hit the nostalgia button for me, which means I did enjoy a film that I don't think is as good, which means it's going to skew a little bit above what it probably should be if I had no emotional connection to the Sanderson sisters. So that's your warning here. Kind of the same warning I gave with Scream and Jurassic Park Dominion, because I like the Scream franchise and the Jurassic Park franchise. So they automatically kind of already get like a little bit of a boost up. So take this with a grain of salt, but I'm going to give Hocus Pocus 2 a C+. That's where that's at. And I really wanted to give this like an A or an A minus. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I just watched the original to get myself prepared for this, which is another reason why this is so disappointing. You know, when you go back and you watch the first one, then you watch the second one, you're like, oh shit. You know, like, oh no. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. So if you could subscribe, that would be great. I think it's doable. I'm close enough. I'm within striking distance. You can also go to my website, macthemovieguy.com, for more reviews. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And the adna.org will let you know what else Laura Post has done. I'm still not going to name the writer, but it was from an audio description company that I had never heard of before, and that could be a huge factor here. So not only had I never seen the writer's name before, but I've never seen the company. It was just a bunch of letters. I couldn't even write it down quick enough. I was like, what did it just say? It's just like ISGB ZBK5429K. And I'm like, what? Hello? What number? What I was expecting like deluxe, you know, just like a really simple, that makes my life so much easier. This film has been provided by Deluxe, with narration by Laura Post. I'm getting so used to hearing that at the end of Disney movies, that when it was like, this film was provided with narration from AGB guy 5791K5LLJG. I was like, that's a new company. What number? What was that? What does that even stand for? Anyway, so I did not catch it. No, I will be more on the lookout for that company the next time. I'll be more ready now that I know that there's a company out there that's just a bunch of letters. It's not like a word. It's just like 6 or 7 letters. I was so blown away by that. Anyway, I gotta go review something else for you guys that has audio description, and I will see you on the other side.